Hi, my name is John Bauder, and I'm a professor in the Department of Anatomy and Neurobiology in the College of Medicine. So today I want to talk about reintroducing creativity into the teaching process. And what I mean by reintroducing is bringing back some of the concepts and ideas that people used to do using chalkboards in lecture rooms. Taking those concepts and incorporating them into the modern way of giving a lecture, which is by using a program like PowerPoint where you're showing slides. So in medical school, you have a lot of content. There's a lot of content-rich material that you're presenting, and you have to present it in a short period of time. And I think a big problem for students is disengagement. So when an instructor is just, reading bullet points off of a slide or showing you, say, an anatomical diagram and just reading labels off of that diagram, it's not an active experience for the students. And the same thing is true for the educator. You might be sitting up there wondering, why am I just reading these things off to the students when they could be doing this on their own time? So the first time I ever gave an anatomy lecture to medical students, I showed up, I was a little bit nervous. I made my slides, I'm just reading them off one after another pretty quickly. And then all of a sudden, I look over and realize I'm done with the lecture. So afterwards, one of the more experienced professors who was watching the lecture came up to me and he said, you're showing some pretty complicated diagrams and slides. Why don't you try drawing those on the chalkboard? And then you can go through them. It'll slow you down. Your pace will be better because you'll be talking about sort of things one at a time as you draw them on the chalkboard. I think drawing on the chalkboard is something that professors used to do a long time ago, of course, before you had access to programs like PowerPoint. It was a good format and it was an active learning format for the students, because what the students do is they sit in the audience, and as you're drawing something on the chalkboard, whether it's a picture or a schematic, they're drawing along in their own notebooks. And so that's an active learning experience for them. And again, for you as the professor, it's something that lets you slow down. You can really clearly develop concepts, develop difficult ideas as you're putting this diagram up on the board. And so I learned how to do that and started incorporating that into all of my lectures. So during the pandemic, obviously I couldn't write on the chalkboard anymore. So I needed to transition this over to something I could do remotely. So I had to figure out how to take what I was doing on the board and incorporate it into a program like PowerPoint. And the way I do that is by making my own diagrams and illustrations and animating them. In terms of anatomy, that works really well when you're breaking down a complex area. So I can start with landmarks and then add different layers. My specialty is teaching cranial nerves. And so what I like to do is have the nerves come from their origin point and then either move or grow across the board and reach out and innervate their targets. And as they're doing that, I explain what the function of those nerves is. What I really like about making my own illustrations is that they're something that I've created. They're my own thing. And so I don't have to rely on information that comes from a different source. I can craft these things to show exactly what I want to show. So I get really good student feedback on my use of these animated diagrams for anatomy. It really helps them understand complicated spaces. It breaks it down and makes it simpler. I hear them say things like they really get it the first time. They don't have to go back and stare at a picture again to try to learn the concept. And that's a great thing. It's also really engaging for me as the instructor. It's like I can't wait to get to the lecture hall to see what my newest diagram looks like projected up on the big screen. So next time you're working on a lecture, try to get away from just reading bullet points off of a slide or reading labels off of a diagram. Think about it as a blank canvas. Teaching itself is a blank canvas, and you're the artist. Remember, you don't have to create the Sistine Chapel here. And this is not only just true for a subject like anatomy, but it's true for other subjects as well, no matter what you're teaching. Try to create your own vision, your own material in a way that will be more engaging for your students, but also more engaging for you as the instructor. Thank you for listening.